Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're looking at Polkadot. This is a lower time frame video. A higher time frame video is up above, so check that out if you haven't already. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Okay, before we get into the lower degree counts here, what we are going to talk about is a couple of the ideas that we are looking for on the bigger picture here. So one of them is that we are looking at this whole move here as a bigger triangle, which actually completed into this high of this $7. Now, if this is the case, what we would then be looking for would be the potential of an ABC pattern to the downside. Now, within this idea, what we would then be saying is that we're looking at this whole move to the downside as our A wave, looking for this as a B to the upside, and then looking for this as a C wave to the downside. Now, 1-to-1 is here at this $3.46. We have already come down to the minimum requirement here, which is this 0.618. The problem is that within the structure that we have currently down here, it is very choppy and overlapping. So this means that if this is a C wave, the likelihood would be that within the structure here, we would be looking at something like a diagonal. But once again, even within this, the internals are quite hard to count as a diagonal pattern. You would have to argue that we had an ABC into here. This would be our wave 2. This would be A, B, and C for 3. And what they would then be looking for would be a 3-wave move to the upside for this wave 4. Now, with this idea of the wave 4 here, invalidation would come by moving back up above this zone here of this $4.98. And effectively what we'd want to see is this actually remain within these yellow lines that we have drawn on the chart here. Now, what we would want to see here in this case would be that we want to just see this develop as an A, B, and a C pattern to the upside, followed by another 3-wave move to the downside. If this is the case, what we would then be looking for would be this 3-wave move to complete and then to see a reversal back to the upside, in which case we would only get confirmation by actually taking this high that this is actually a completed move. Until we do that, we'd have to be careful that this whole move here doesn't become an A. We get another B wave and then we look for that continuation to the downside. Even though within this case we're looking for this as a C wave, we need to just be aware that there is another way of counting this structure where we could actually still look for this to continue down in another 3-wave pattern rather than just ending in the C wave. Another way we were discussing this in the previous video was saying that what we could actually have here in the beginning of this structure is that we could count this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 as a diagonal. Now, like, the reason I said I didn't really like the structure is because the 5th wave actually broke so far out of the lines here. It is technically possible, however, because it does still follow all the rules. Now, if we are looking at this idea here, what we could actually be doing is setting up for a bigger wave 2. Now, the most common zone that we look for wave 2 is between this 576 and this 690. Now, we have actually moved up here already in this move here. So we need to be careful here that if we are looking to break down in a 5-wave structure here, this wave 2 could actually already be in play here, and we could be looking to break down for this white wave 3. Now, depending on how high we come here, if we take it to that 50%, which we touched on here, the impulsive trigger for this would actually be down here towards this $2.78. So if we do see price looking to break down past this 1618 level here, this would actually indicate that we are actually within this white 3rd wave and would confirm this count. Until we do that, we do have other options available, which we're going to go over. But what we would have to just be careful of here is that if we do start to see this, it would be more likely then that internally here we have something like this as 1, 2, 1, 2, another 1, 2 here, and then we're going to start to break down in a bigger 5-wave pattern looking for something like this. Now, the reason I have issues with this is because of the size of these waves that would be internally here. The wave 2s are getting progressively bigger, which is not what we really want to see if we're looking for something like this. But nevertheless, it is still possible that this wave 2 is still in play, where we could actually still have this just as an A wave here. We've got this as a corrective structure here, and we look to push up one more time here, looking to actually bring us back up into this red target box before looking for that continuation down. So that's why I'm just being mindful that at the moment, because this is so choppy to the downside here, there is still potential here that we could see a bit of a bounce to the upside here, looking to retest some of these highs before actually seeing that move play out to the downside. Now, once again, one of the other alternatives here that we discussed is that this whole move from further back here is basically a B, and C for a W wave. this is an X wave, and we could be looking for a Y wave to the upside, in which case our 1-to-1 is up here at this 689, which would align quite nicely with retesting some of these higher zones. So we're going to be keeping an eye on this. Now, the problem that we had here is that we were looking for this as potentially A, B, and C, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looking at this whole structure as possible flat correction. Now, because we've actually come down and taken this low here, it is now impossible for this to be a 5-wave move from this point. Now, if we are going to be looking for this Y wave to the upside, the likelihood now becomes that this is going to be something like A, B, and then we're going to see a flat correction in this space. So this is what I'm looking out for at the moment, is that unless we continue to form impulsive structure to the downside, I'm going to be looking for that possibility of a bounce here, where we could be looking to come back up here and challenge some of these highs, at least into this channel here, which is sitting at about this 511 directly above us, and then looking for that possibility that we could be either within a Y wave, in which case we'd be looking for this 689 level, or the idea of this coming to push back up into this red target box area that we've got over here, which would align with the idea of this being a wave 2. So going to be keeping an eye on that. Now let's come in a bit closer here and talk about this structure to the downside. Now, within this structure to the downside, what we are looking for here is that this whole move here could be a W wave into these lows over here. Now, if that's the case, what we'd treat this as an X wave to the upside, though it would be very small, and it's not really what I want to see for an X wave, but sometimes these things can happen. Now, if this is the case and we're looking at this as a Y wave to the downside, we've actually met the minimum requirement already, because we've come down and we've already hit this 786. So we've gone past that 0.618. So within this idea, what we're looking for is the potential that we could look to actually have a reversal pretty soon out of this area. Though until we actually take this B wave high here of this 480, we need to be careful of continuation. That's why I've got this orange target box over here. If we see this move as just a 3-wave structure, A, B, C, it could be that this is the Y wave completed. Alternatively, this could become A. We see a bigger A, B, and a C to the upside here. And then we do look for a continuation down at a later point, in which case what I would be looking out for would be these blue target areas here. We have the 786, which we've already hit. We have the 0.854 at this 409, and the 1-to-1 down here at this 395. This would also align quite nicely with this as a current ABC pattern if we look to continue to push down here, where we could see this 1382 getting hit. If we do see price starting to push down past this 1618, which would be this 380 zone, we need to be careful that this move isn't actually evolving into a bigger 5-wave pattern where this becomes 1, 2. We get a bigger 3rd, 4th, and a 5th to the downside, though it wouldn't make a lot of sense here given the current structure, unless we get something like this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, where we've actually had an extension in this wave 1. So gonna have to keep an eye on this. The idea here is that what we're looking for is a flat correction. Now, in a flat correction, what we typically look for is that this would be our A wave here. This would be our B wave, and then we look for a C wave. Now, we've already swept the A wave origin, which would mean that we'd be looking for an irregular flat. Now, the most common area for an overshooting B wave with this is between this $4.20 and this 372. And as we can see here, we've already come into this zone now. So if we do start to see price holding these lows and starting to develop 5-wave structure to the upside, which eventually then looks to break up towards this zone of this 569 to this 643 level, this would align very much with the idea of getting a impulse to the upside here in a flat. The higher target for this would actually be this 693 level if we do start to see something like this. So worth keeping an eye on here. Going to be watching these internals to see how we react, but definitely is a possibility that we could start to see a little bit of a reversal to the upside. But the key thing here for me would be this B wave high. Until we actually get back above this 480 level, need to be very careful that any kind of a small 3-wave bounce up here, which fails to find support again above some of this previous support, would be likely to just continue to sell off to the downside. So we're going to come in here and look at this smaller move that we've got over here. Now, there's 2 ways that we can look at this. We can argue that within the structure here, we have this as our A wave here, and what we are looking at is that this is our B wave and we've completed already. in which case we would have come down here into this zone of this 0.618 to this 702 region. Now, if this is the case and we have a completed move here, what we'd then be looking for would be this C wave to start to develop to the upside, or it could be a Y wave as well, where this is W, X, and Y, where we'd be expecting a 3-wave move to the upside. The target would remain the same if this is going to be our connector wave. This 438 would be the zone I'm looking for if we are looking for that possibility here that, we are looking for this as just a simple corrective structure where this is A, B, and C. However, there is also the potential here that we could be within this blue wave count that we can see here. And what this would be looking for effectively here is that this move down is in 3 waves. We look at this as A, B, and C to the upside, and this would be our B wave rejection area. And then now what we're looking for is the potential to see 5-wave structure to the downside. Now, if we do see a move down here, I'll be looking towards this $4.16 as a possible support zone. As well as that, we do have this 0.786, which is sitting within this area, looking to actually come back and retest some of these lower zones. So if we do see price looking to fall away here, going to be watching this 786. If we start to lose this 786 level, it becomes less likely that we're going to see this yellow ABC to the upside here. And effectively what I want to be looking for here is just a 3-wave move to the upside. If we start to push up past this 450 level, what we could actually have here is that this move could actually be as a diagonal, a wave 1. This becomes a B wave or a wave 2, and then we look for this as a 3rd wave. Now, if we do look to pass this 1618 level, this could then align with seeing a 4th and a 5th, in which case we would be looking for this move to start to trend from this low, and would be indicating that we could potentially be looking for that idea of having that push up again in a 5-wave structure. Until we actually see this develop nice clean structure here, it is looking quite choppy and corrective, so the likelihood would be still to the downside unless we start to break back above this $4.50. Now, looking at this internal idea here of having a break to the upside, what I would be looking for more locally here is that within this structure, I wouldn't like to say that we could have, that this wave 1 here would be completed. What I'd be looking for effectively, that if we are looking for that breakout, that this would be 1, 2, 3 here, looking for a 4th and a 5th to the upside. Now, an interesting zone for this to try and target out would actually be this zone of this $4.32 if it's going to look to try and interact with this high here. Now, the key thing here is that if we're looking for this possibility of seeing continuation to the upside directly where we already have a low in place over here, what I would want to see is this move push up one more time here and then come back down for this wave 2. Now, if this wave 2 is going to hold, it would need to hold this zone of this 421. Starting to lose 421 would make it less likely we're going to see continuation. But effectively what we'd be looking for here would be this move to find support and then push up past the 1.618, which depending on how deep this comes, I've gone off this golden pocket here, which is sitting at this 422. And this would push the impulsive trigger up here towards this 437. Obviously, this depends exactly how high we come here. Where we need to be careful here is at the moment, this is just A, B, and C. And we actually have hit this 1-to-1 and we started to reject. This is why I'm looking for both possibilities that we could look to push up directly here. Or alternatively, that this could become A, B, we push down one more time, and then we look to push to the upside. If we start to lose this low, however, it becomes more likely that we're just going to continue with this move down here. And we'll have to watch exactly how this develops, because what we need to be careful of is, like I said, the possibility that this could become 1-2, and then we see a bigger break to the downside, or alternatively A, B, and C, where we could see this start to fall away though. If we do start to fall away here, I will be keeping an eye on this $4.10 because we do have potential to actually test this area, because we have a weekly naked point of control sitting in this zone. So I'd like to see how we react around that zone. If we do see price looking to push down there one more time, will be interesting to see how we react at that level. Coming in here and having a look at the daily CPR lines, what we can see is that we have some fairly unchanged ones today. Price has just been bouncing around in this area. We are currently above our central lines here. And if we do manage to hold support above these, what we can see is price could be gravitated towards some of these higher levels here. So 432, 438, 445 and 451 are upside targets for today. This one would be quite an interesting one here at this R1 line, because it would be looking to sweep this high like we were talking about previously. If we start to lose these central lines here, what I'd be then looking for is the potential to see if price would be coming back down here towards this low again of this 419. If we start to lose this level, other targets to the downside would be 413, 406, and this $4 region. So going to be watching those levels lower down in case we do see price starting to break to the downside. Now, if we come over here and have a look at the weekly pivots, what we can see is that we have printed weekly pivots here. We do have these engulfing the previous ones. So this is typical of seeing some sideways ranging price action, but we'll have to see whether the price is confirming this. We haven't actually had an interaction with these weekly points yet. So if we do see price look to push back up here one more time, I'll be very interested to see how we react around this 432, 439, and this 447 level as potential upside targets for this week. If we do see price looking to move up here and we reject and we start to lose some of these levels that we are holding now, targets to the downside for this week would become here at this $4. We have this 372 and this 332 as downside targets. If we do see price looking to actually push back up here and we continue to hold these lows and we start to see some progression to the upside, start to turn these levels into support, targets would then become this 466. We have this $5.07 and this 533 as potential upside targets for this week. So going to be watching out on these levels. If we do see price moving into them, we can potentially see price pivot on these zones. Now, moving over here and having a look at the monthly pivots, what we can see is that once again, we are currently underneath our monthly CPR lines. If we do see price looking to push back to the upside here, we'll be watching this 442. We have this 457 and this level here of this 472, which all could potentially become resistance if we do move up into these zones. If, however, we see price fail to push up here and we just look to push down directly, targets would become 393. We have this 358 and lower down here, this 294 is potential downside targets for this month. Now, if we are looking at this idea of actually reclaiming these central lines over the period of the month, what we could then see is the possibility to come back up here and look to test out this 491. We have this 555 and this level up here of this 589, which would align with coming back up here into some of these higher zones, looking at this idea of this whole move being a bigger corrective structure here as a flat correction, where this becomes A, B, and C. Something like this would align with actually looking to test out these higher levels. Though, like I said, until we actually start taking these highs, we need to be careful that we could just continue to get this direct push to the downside. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below, and also in the description you will find a link to the Discord. Come check it out, it's free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.